Chapter 11 Fighter again, the reputation of genius has not fallen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What a wonderful warming technique. Xuan enjoyed it very much. If it is said that it will take half a year to a year for her body to fully grow and start practicing Dou Qi, after being warmed and nourished by this technique, she can start practicing tomorrow, after a lot of trouble. Maybe Xuan's physique is different from ordinary people. Even Xiao Yan, who had 6 levels of Dou Qi and used the Fighting Qi Foundation building technique to continuously absorb the energy of the world, was sweating profusely in the end. Picking up something beside the bed and wiping the sweat off his forehead, Xiao Yan took a deep breath. Unexpectedly, so much fighting energy was expended on Xuan. It seems that the people of this ancient family have quite a different physique from ordinary people. After resting for a few minutes, Xiao Yan realized that what he was holding was actually a thin bellyband. Mistake, mistake. Xiao Yan hurriedly put on Xuan's delicate bellyband again, looked down at the cheeks that looked like ripe red apples, and smiled slightly. Come back tomorrow night. After covering him with a thin quilt, Xiao Yan left the room in a flash. After Xiao Yan left for a long time, Xuan slowly opened her eyes and looked at the direction where Xiao Yan disappeared. Her jade lips pursed slightly, and her big apricot eyes were full of confusion. Brother Xiao Yan. Thinking of the strange little hands, Xuan's pretty face became red and hot, and she pulled up the thin quilt to completely cover her little head. The next day, the entire Wutan city was in a sensation. Because Xiao Yan, the genius of the Xiao family, started practicing when he was only 4 years old. At the age of 1, he had the strength of the 4th level of fighting spirit, and Xiao Yan's name had already spread throughout Wutan city. Everyone is very curious, how good will a genius who is almost born with fighting spirit become after practicing now? There is a Yao Lao in the ring who is madly devouring Dou Qi. Xiao Yan takes the initiative to practice by crossing his legs, revealing that he just started practicing today and works extremely diligently every day, of course, using the Bing muscle jade bone warming technique to warm and nourish the meridians of Xiao Mei, Xiao Yu, and Xuan every day has gradually developed into a habit, even if he relied on his incredible understanding to upgrade this technique again. And the warming effect was better. Xiao Yan never stopped. Time is like running water, quietly passing by the fingertips, and it is 7 years before you know it. Fighting Qi, 7th level. Xiao Mei, Fighting Spirit, 7th level. Level, Advanced. Yeah. Listening to the results shouted by the examiner, the girl turned around and waved to the young man in black robes in the distance, with a proud smile on her cheeks. Although she is not stunningly beautiful at the age of a young girl, her childish little face contains a touch of charm. The coexistence of purity and charm makes her the center of attention at this time. She was not as envious as the other members of the family. Next to the black-robed boy, the girl in a cyan dress said calmly, "It seems that someone has been working hard on cousin Xiao Mei for the 7th-stage fighting spirit." Over the past 7 years, Xuan has grown into a graceful figure with a calm and cool temperament, just like the first bloom of a green lotus. Faced with Xuan's obviously meaningful words, Xiao Yan raised his hand and touched his nose. You cannot use external aids during the Dou Qi stage. All this is Xiao Mei's own efforts, how can others help? Xuan wrinkled her nose lightly. It's a pity that cousin Xiao Yu is training hard to join Canaan College, otherwise there would be great things to watch. Xiao Yan's dark eyes blinked slightly. After his wonderful warming and nourishing techniques, the qualifications of the 3 women were greatly improved. For example, Xiao Mei reached the 7th stage of fighting spirit 3 years in advance. With Xiao Yu's original qualifications, it was a sure thing to join Canaan College in the future, but she was too nervous. Next, Xiao Xuan, thought among the noisy crowd, the tester's voice rang out again. As this somewhat elegant name sounded, the crowd suddenly became quiet, and all eyes suddenly shifted. No matter in terms of beauty, temperament or talent, Xuan is much better than Xiao Mei before. It's no wonder that everyone behaves like this. I wonder what level of fighting spirit Miss Xuan has reached this year. Countless people looked in the direction of the magic stone tablet expectantly. Moving her step slightly, Xuan came to the magic stone tablet, stretched out her little hand, and then lightly touched the stone tablet. After a slight silence, the dazzling light bloomed again on the stone tablet. Fighting Qi, 9th stage. Level, advanced. Looking at the fonts on the stone tablet, the place suddenly fell into silence. TSK, the 9th level of fighting spirit is really amazing. According to this progress, I'm afraid it will only take half a year for Miss Sunner to become a real fighter. He is indeed one of the top geniuses in the family. After the silence, the people around him swallowed involuntarily, their eyes filled with awe. The spirit of fighting is the only way for every fighter. Only by cultivating it to the peak and condensing the whirlpool of fighting can one become a respected fighter. Xiao Mei frowned and stared at the girl in front of the stone tablet, with a rather depressed look on her face. She has also been practicing hard this year, but she didn't expect that compared with this girl, she was still far behind. Xiao Yan saw this in his eyes, but he was helpless. Some things cannot be caught up with hard work. Everyone has the same amount of time to practice. Xiao Mei is practicing hard, and Sunner will not be idle at this time. Like now, she and Sunner still practice the same fighting spirit cultivation method. In the end, they fought for the purest talent. If after breaking through the Dou Qi, Sunner can possess various powerful techniques and elixirs, the gap between the two will only widen. Xiao Yan, the examiner was full of respect when he read the name. All the eyes of the audience moved with the sound, and all turned to the handsome young man wearing a black robe. This is the #1 genius of the Xiao family. Sister Sunner, don't be surprised later. Looking at the girl in the green skirt walking back, Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows at Sunner and said. Sunner played with a strand of black hair and murmured, "Did you become a fighter?" There is no secret about ordinary people's fighting spirit strength or her soul perception, but brother Xiao Yan's strength has always seemed like a mystery. Looking at the young man in black robe walking slowly forward, there was some silence on the training ground. A pair of blazing eyes stared at the young man firmly without blinking. Under the gaze of all the eyes in the field, Xiao Yan reached out and pressed his hand on Bing Ling's black stone tablet, and a majestic fighting spirit surged rapidly in his body. With the input of fighting spirit, after a moment of silence, the black stone tablet suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Fighter, 1 star. Looking at the 4 shining golden characters on the black stone tablet, the training ground fell into a slight silence. Soon, the sound of gasping for cold air sounded like a convulsion. Everyone's expressions were frozen at this moment. Master Xiao Yan, a 1-star fighter, somewhat shocked by the 4 golden characters, the tester couldn't help but shake his head in wonder and shouted loudly. Chapter 12 Yao Lao appears, his soul body full of blood. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 11-year-old fighter. He is indeed the #1 genius of our Xiao family. Listening to the examiner's announcement, everyone on the training ground gasped with shock. As the level of cultivation increases, the bottleneck of cultivation will become more difficult to break through. If the Dou Qi wants to break through and become a Dou Qi, the prerequisite is that the Dou Qi whirlpool must be condensed in the body. However, there is a high failure rate in condensing the cyclone of fighting. After failure, the 9th level of fighting energy will drop back to the 8th level. Some people who are unlucky may need to concentrate more than 10 times before they can succeed. However, such repeated condensation caused people to lose the best time to practice, causing great damage to their future. Young Master Xiao Yan is indeed a genius among geniuses. Not only does he practice extremely fast in the fighting spirit stage, but he also succeeded in condensing the fighting spirit whirlpool for the first time. Looking at the 4 golden characters on the black stone tablet, I was a little dazzled, and my cherry mouth opened wide in surprise. He has become a 1-star fighter at the age of 11, and I am afraid he can become a strong fighter at the age of 15. In the history of the Northwest Territory for so many years, there are only a few people, and these few people have already become the Taishan Beidou in the Dou Qi cultivation world. At the end of the crowd, Sunner also pursed her jade lips in surprise. She didn't expect brother Xiao Yan to be promoted to a fighter so quickly. This terrifying cultivation speed is almost unique even among ancient families. What the ancient families valued was the blood in the body. Before the blood was awakened, they were not much different from ordinary people. Even if she has the current strength, she only relies on her extraordinary soul power and the meridians that are nourished day and night, and she has made rapid progress. Looking at the young man in black robe standing at the stone monument, Sunner blinked his smart eyes and murmured, "If brother Xiao Yan's strength hadn't been affected by the mysterious man, I'm afraid his current strength would be enough to defeat the old guy in the family. Shock. I hope that person doesn't have any malicious intentions, otherwise, even if you hide in Brother Xiao Yan's body, I will find you out. She sighed softly, and in Sun'er's autumn eyes, a faint golden flame danced gently. With slowly retracting his palm, Xiao Yan knew in his heart that today was definitely an extremely important day for him. Although Yao Lao has been devouring his fighting spirit, his devouring speed is obviously limited, as the cultivation method continued to make breakthroughs under the blessing of heaven-defying understanding. It soon matched Yao Lao's devouring speed, and soon surpassed Yao Lao's devouring speed, therefore, his strength only dropped once. In the following time, his strength has been improving, and today he has once again condensed the whirlpool of fighting. The most important thing is that Wenze, who has accepted the fighting spirit for many years, has solidified his foundation to a level that is unimaginable even for geniuses. Today is a happy day for Brother Xiao Yan to break through and become a fighter. Brother Xiao Yan wants to treat us. Sun'er raised her mouth playfully at Xiao Yan, who was walking back. Okay. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. He was finally going to start practicing Dou Qi. It was indeed worth celebrating. I'm afraid, the next step will be arduous training again. Hee, I want the most expensive one. Hearing this, Sun'er chuckled sweetly, and the girl's crisp silver bells made many people's hearts tremble. However, they also know that only a genius like Xiao Yan can be worthy of an innocent girl like Miss Sun'er. Xiao Mei, who was wearing a fiery red dress, stepped forward and said with an excited blush on her pretty face, "Cousin Xiao Yan, congratulations on your breakthrough and becoming a fighter. With your qualifications, cousin, I believe you will be able to break through the ranks of fighters soon." Xiao Yan smiled slightly. Xiao Mei laughed dumbly. "I'm afraid that will happen in 2 or 3 years." Looking at the slight bulge under the red skirt, Xiao Yan did not neglect the girl he had watched since she was a child. He invited, "We will think about the future later. We are going to go out for a big dinner later. My cousin will come with us." "Go ahead. Cousin Xiao Mei, let's come together." Sun'er raised her hand to straighten her hair and said with a smile. Xiao Mei nodded, "I was just wondering what it would be like to condense the cyclone of Dou. In order to celebrate the upcoming start of Dou Qi training, Xiao Yan took Sun'er and Xiao Mei to visit Wutan City for a long time before parting ways with the family. The moon is like a silver plate, and the sky is filled with stars. On the top of the cliff, Xiao Yan stood with his hands behind his back, gently twisting a simple ring in his right hand. After a while, Xiao Yan said to the air, "Old monster, you have sucked my fighting spirit for so many years, why don't you come out and meet me? Little guy, how did you know that I exist?" The air trembled slightly, a dark white light flashed on the surface of the ring, and an old figure floated out. Xiao Yan shrugged. "Once, I didn't wear the ring, and the fighting spirit disappeared. When I put the ring back on, the fighting spirit disappeared quickly. After several experiments like this, even a fool should understand why the fighting spirit disappeared. Little baby, you are quite smart." Yao Lao stroked a strand of his beard and smiled. Xiao Yan rolled his eyes. "Don't talk about those useless things. You have absorbed my fighting spirit for so many years. Hurry up and take out the high-level skills in your collection. I just need a volume of skills now. If you have nothing to do with me, to help, I think you should find another unlucky guy." He lowered his eyebrows and glanced at the bottomless cliff, and Xiao Yan chuckled. "I'm afraid if I fall in there, I don't know how many more years I have to wait." Listening to Xiao Yan's trivial threat, Yao Lao smiled. "No one else has such powerful soul perception as you. Since I have chosen to show up, I will naturally give you huge benefits. What about the high-level skills? What, do you want to become an alchemist? In Dou Qi Continent, as long as you are an individual, you want to become an alchemist." Xiao Yan curled his lips. "My name is Yao Lao. As for my origin, I'd rather not tell you now to avoid distracting you. You just need to know that the guy who is called the King of Alchemy is actually, just a nobody." Speaking of his identity, Yao Lao's body trembled slightly, like a wild beast that had awakened, and its terrifying power caused the wind and clouds in the sky to surge rapidly. absorbing the constant flow of fighting energy to nourish the soul. Yao Lao's soul has completely recovered from the injuries sustained over the years, although there is still a big gap between the previous peak strength. There is absolutely no problem in walking sideways in the Jiama Empire. Xiao Yan blocked the front of his body with his palm, and the pure white fighting spirit was released together with his own soul power, condensing into a semicircular protective shield in front of him. Forced to take a step back by this coercion, Xiao Yan slowly stopped and looked at Yao Lao with some astonishment. Chapter 13 I Want Them All. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this the strength of a strong man? It's just a soul body, but it's so terrifying. Xiao Yan's dark eyes blinked slightly. Yao Lao is still simply releasing his pressure. If he deliberately targets himself, even if his strength is far superior to ordinary fighters, he will never be an enemy with one move. He raised his head and looked around. Yao Lao showed a kind smile in both directions. He actually discovered me. Ling Ying, who was hiding in the mountains and fields, frowned and felt horrified. He cultivates dark attribute fighting spirit, and his concealment ability is extremely strong, and his hidden whereabouts can be seen through with just a glance. On the other side, Qin Yueyao, who realized that she had been discovered, frowned. This medicine is very powerful. For so many years, this old gentleman has not shown his prominence. Now that he thinks about it, he must be recovering from his injury. It was Yenner's opportunity to be guided by such a strong person. Qin Yueyao nodded slightly, and the aqua-blue fighting spirit wings behind her disappeared into the back hill of the Xiao family. Qin Yueyao's strength has been improving rapidly in recent years. It's just that she doesn't usually walk in front of people, so few people know about her. After the two of them disappeared, Yao Lao crossed his legs on a piece of bluestone, shook his head, and asked a little impatiently, "Little guy, are you going to learn or not? Study, why don't you learn? If you don't learn, wouldn't all my years of fighting spirit have been sucked in by you?" Xiao Yan no longer hesitated and nodded. He, if you are willing, then you can become a disciple. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan several times, and a strange smile of a treacherous plot quickly appeared on his face. You still want to become a disciple? Xiao Yan's black eyes widened a bit. He was already a genius to this level, but he still needed to abide by some red tape. Nonsense, you want me to teach you everything without being a disciple? What are you dreaming about? Yao Lao rolled his eyes. His temper was obviously beyond Xiao Yan's imagination. He curled his lips helplessly and formally became a disciple of Yao Lao. After seeing Xiao Yan's courtesy, Yao Lao nodded with satisfaction. Hey, teacher, since I am already your disciple, please take this advanced heaven-level technique. Xiao Yan sat casually on the grass, stretched out his hand and begged with a smile. What the heck, are your high-level skills like wild potatoes on the ground? Thank you for opening your mouth. Hearing this, Yao Lao's face trembled, and he cursed in a voice that didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xiao Yan was quite depressed. Fen Jue, the only route in Dou Qi Continent that could break through Dou Emperor, still received negative reviews as usual. There is no problem with the quality of the Burning Jue technique, it just lacks an adapter. This is like two human legs. Which one is longer is not better. Looking at Xiao Yan's very depressed face, Yao Lao's cloudy old eyes were suddenly full of conspiracy. I don't have heaven-level skills, but I do have a kind of skill that is even weirder than heaven-level skills. Looking at Xiao Yan quietly, a complicated expression flashed across Yao Lao's face. Do you have feelings for that girl named Xuan? Huh? Startled by Yao Lao's unreasonable question, Xiao Yan opened his mouth. Teacher, we are discussing a very serious cultivation issue now. Why do you talk about this? I have a fiancée who is married to my fingertips, and she still works in 3 different girls' rooms every night. Yao Lao counted on his fingers. As a teacher, I must ask clearly what you, a little pervert, are thinking. Thinking of what Xiao Yan had done in the past few years, Yao Lao couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. This disciple was indeed a genius, but he was just too perverted. However, this is not a problem for a future strong man, but one of them is really special. Xiao Yan's face with a bitter smile froze slightly. He had to find a wife as early as possible. Over the years, he had used the warming and nourishing techniques of the meridians to help the 3 little girls grow up. Otherwise, with their talents, it would be absolutely impossible for them to reach their current strength. Seeing that Xiao Yan was silent for a long time, Yao Lao said in a deep voice, "Now that the Xiao family is weak, your fiancé's family has not appeared much. I heard that he has joined the Yunlan sect. I am afraid that it will be a matter of time before he breaks off the engagement with you in the future. I suggest you break off your engagement as soon as possible, keep a distance from the other girls except Suna, and concentrate on accepting my teachings." His face gradually became serious. Yao Lao smacked his lips and said with some confusion, "That girl Suna's background is a bit scary. I don't know how she can be related to your small family with her background, but this cannot fill the gap between you. The identity gap between you and her is too huge. Even if that girl likes you, those people behind her will never agree, especially if you are married. Condition: if you can follow my teachings, it is very possible to get close to that little girl in the future. This will save you from struggling for at least 20 years. Yao Lao showed a teasing smile, becoming a son-in-law to a rich woman. Xiao Yan's eyes widened slightly and he spit out a piece of wheat hanging in his mouth. Having said so much, does the teacher want me to choose a technique that is weirder than the heavenly level? Hee hee. Yao Lao touched his withered old face, smiled coquettishly, and said with some embarrassment, "I admit that I was a little bit instigating. However, whether it is from my point of view or from your point of view, I really hope you can come and practice it. You should know that I am just in a state of soul right now." Yao Lao spread his hands and asked. Xiao Yan nodded. "According to common sense, I should be dead in this state. However, because my soul power is much stronger than that of ordinary people, I survived in such a weird way." Yao Lao laughed at himself. He smiled, with a hint of bitterness in his smile. "I don't like this kind of illusory life. I still have some things that must be done personally, so I need to get out of this soul state. The skills I mentioned, when practiced to a certain level, have the ability to the miraculous power of human resurrection." Xiao Yan pondered for a moment and said, "I know how to practice the kung fu. But forget what the teacher said about breaking off the engagement. Although Xiao Yan is not a good person, he is not a treacherous person. Others may say that the Xiao family broke off the engagement because they knew they were not as good as the Nalan family, one of the three major families in the Jiama Empire, but fire can't be contained in paper. People in the Jiama Empire will definitely know in the future that I, Xiao Yan, had a strong man as my teacher in my early years. If I agree to break off the engagement today, how will it be different from the Nalan family who the teacher said will break off the engagement in the future because of their powerful background?" Yao Lao was slightly startled. "What are your plans?" "I want them all." Xiao Yan clenched his fists. Chapter 14. Is this the training speed of Fen Jue? Yao Lao was horrified. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even the experienced Yao Lao was a little stunned for a moment. After a while, Yao Lao flicked his finger, and a black beam of light fell into Xiao Yan's hand. The black light faded, revealing a black scroll. This is a skill that is even weirder than the heaven level, burning technique. This skill is only at the lower level of the yellow level now, and can be upgraded by swallowing strange fires. I will explain to you what a strange fire is later, but what you need to know now is that just one kind of strange fire can torture a strong Dou Huang warrior to death. Even I have a hard time imagining what it would be like if one person had two, or even more than two, kinds of different fires in his body. If you want to realize your idea, just practice hard. Yao Lao sighed, hoping that he was not blind this time. After obtaining the burning Jue technique, Xiao Yan stood up and found the cave in House Han where he had often practiced over the years to prevent others from disturbing him. Yao Lao was quite satisfied with Xiao Yan's caution. In fact, except for Xiao Yan, who was a little too lustful, he was basically very satisfied. Sitting cross-legged on the stone bed, Xiao Yan slowly unfolded the burning technique, and soon the latter turned into a flow of information and poured directly into Xiao Yan's head. Against the odds, Xiao Yan only read it once, and already knew the training of the burning technique, and he also had some inexplicable thoughts. Having had many epiphanies, Xiao Yan was no stranger to these thoughts. If the ideas born at this time are studied with concentration in the future, they will make great progress and become reality. Slowly closing his eyes, Xiao Yan began to practice the Burning Ju. After breaking through the Dou Qi, everyone has the qualifications to practice the skills. After practicing the skills, the milky white fighting energy without attributes in the body will be transformed into the attribute fighting energy of the skills. The first transformation of Dou Qi didn't take too long, but the burning technique was so weird that no one had ever practiced it. Yao Lao was suspended in the air, looking at Xiao Yan, who closed his eyes and transformed Dou Qi. 2 hours later, Yao Lao became a little nervous. Why did it take so long? Burning Ju is now only a low-level Huang-level skill. According to Xiao Yan's qualifications, he should have completed the transformation of fighting spirit long ago. Xiao Yan has been practicing the fighting qi for more than 10 years, during which he experienced several epiphanies in the fighting qi foundation building technique. The last thing Xiao Yan practiced was called spreading qi and Chongyuan building the foundation. This practice method combines Yao Lao's absorption of Dou Qi and summarizes his years of experience in Dou Qi cultivation. Practicing under the condition of continuously absorbing fighting spirit not only strengthened Xiao Yan's physical fitness to a terrifying level, but also made Xiao Yan's fighting spirit extremely pure, even almost comparable to real fighting spirit. This pure fighting spirit condenses the fighting cyclone and breaks through the fighter. Xiao Yan's fighting spirit still maintains its pure characteristics. The energy is so powerful that even the fighting spirit of a strong fighting master is inferior. In this way, the transformation time will naturally be much longer than that of ordinary fighters. After a full 5 hours, Xiao Yan finally transformed all his fighting spirit. After formally practicing the Dou Qi technique, Xiao Yan seemed to be more energetic than before. His delicate face was glowing with a warm jade-like luster, and he looked energetic. Yao Lao, who had been watching Xiao Yan, immediately caught the change in Xiao Yan. Is the transformation successful? But at this moment, the energy surging in the surrounding world rushed toward Xiao Yan crazily, and the speed became faster and faster, as if Xiao Yan's body had almost turned into a black hole, continuously absorbing the energy that crazily poured into the body. Energy of heaven and earth. Yao Lao was suspended in mid-air, looking at the situation created by Xiao Yan, and frowned slightly. Is this about to break through? It's just such a majestic energy of heaven and earth, but it is far beyond the scope of a fighter's breakthrough. That while Yao Lao was a little confused and anxious, Xiao Yan, who had his eyes tightly closed, methodically guided the energy of heaven and earth that came out of his pores. Xiao Yan has done this kind of thing countless times, and now he is not unfamiliar with the newly practiced Burning Ju technique. After a large amount of heaven and earth energy was refined and purified through multiple meridians, it reached the level of Dou Qi in Xiao Yan's body and was poured into the Dou Qi cyclone. After a full hour, the energy of heaven and earth became thinner and thinner, and finally the energy of heaven and earth in the surrounding area was completely absorbed by Xiao Yan. A muffled sound came from Xiao Yan's body, and everything returned to normal. Blinking his eyes, Xiao Yan looked at the cave, which seemed to be much brighter, and smiled slightly. Xiao Yan naturally knew that these were some of the sensory enhancement benefits brought about by practicing the technique. 2-star fighter. Yao Lao couldn't help but clicked his tongue. This is the first time I've heard of a breakthrough during the transformation of the technique. It seems that you have been practicing Dou Qi for many years, and your body has benefited a lot. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. My Dou Qi is extremely pure and the transformation of the technique is completed. I feel that the Dou Qi in the Dou Qi cyclone is about to break through the 2-star Dou Qi, so I practice for a while and directly break through. After practicing for a while, Yao Lao smiled bitterly and shook his head, talking about the scene when Xiao Yan broke through. That is not what a 1-star fighter should look like when he breaks through, nor is it the training effect of a low-level Huang-level skill. Xiao Yan smiled. Could it be that everyone's practice of low-level Huang-level skills will have the same effect? If this is the case, everyone in the Dou Qi stage uses the same practice method, but the speed of practice is different. The reason why geniuses are called geniuses is because their qualifications are far beyond ordinary people. If this qualification does not affect the speed of cultivation, but is caused by skills, resources, etc., then I am afraid that there will be one more voice in this Dou Qi continent. If I also have XX exercises and XX pills, so I can do them too. Aren't you just bragging about your extraordinary talent? Yao Lao saw through Xiao Yan's thoughts at a glance. Xiao Yan raised his hand and bowed his head, remaining silent. Although Xiao Yan was a bit narcissistic, Yao Lao also knew that what this little guy said was true. What you said makes sense, but who with such talent would choose low-level Huang-level skills? After saying that, Yao Lao couldn't help but smile bitterly, but he quickly restrained himself and looked at the direction again. Xiao Yan, even the well-informed Yao Lao was shocked to be able to practice the low-level Huang-level skills at a speed that was only possible with the high-level Huang-level skills. This is a transcendence that can be achieved through the Dekagong method entirely due to talent. At this moment, Yao Lao suddenly poured cold blood and said, "Don't be too happy too early. Although your cultivation speed is not too slow, before the burning technique evolves, your fighting spirit has far less endurance than before. Fuck someone else." Chapter 15 8 Pole Collapse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Therefore, when fighting against others in the future, we must be crisp and clear. If we don't move, we will be done. If we move, we must do our best to win the battle quickly. Yao Lao warned. Xiao Yan nodded, but he didn't take it too seriously. The Dou Qi cyclone can't store much Dou Qi, so he can't think of another way. Teacher, you know very well that for so many years, I have devoted myself to the cultivation of fighting spirit, but I don't know any fighting skills. Xiao Yan wrinkled his face and looked at Yao Lao depressedly. Seeing Xiao Yan's appearance, Yao Lao, who already knew his character quite well, shook his head helplessly. He was bleeding heavily again. After thinking for a moment, Yao Lao laughed twice, shook his head, and then smiled and said, "Forget it, who asked me to deal with you, a poor apprentice? In order to prevent you from being beaten into a disability, I will teach you. Now that you are not strong enough, let me teach you a Xian-level fighting skill that is famous for its attack power. This fighting skill is not very demanding, and all 5 levels of fighting spirit can exert some power. For you who have little fighting spirit now, the situation is extremely suitable." Yao Lao raised his hand and put it between his brows, tried hard to think about it, and muttered, "I remember that one person cried and begged me to accept this Xian-level advanced fighting skill back then. However, I am not very interested in these things. If it weren't for I am really irritated by his entanglement, and I will not help him refine the elixir." The careless and understated look was like talking about the garbage on the ground. Xiao Yan was leaning against the wall, and his Xian level was not weak. With his incredible understanding, he would be able to upgrade to an unimaginable level sooner or later. Yao Lao slowly opened his eyes at this moment. "If I hadn't encountered you in this situation today, I would have almost forgotten about it. Close your eyes and meditate, I'll pass it on to you." After Xiao Yan sat down again, Yao Lao pointed out his finger, and then gently touched Xiao Yan's forehead. A large amount of information poured into his mind. With a soul power close to the low level of the mortal realm, Xiao Yan did not feel any discomfort in the face of this sudden information. Bajabang, Xian-level advanced fighting skill, close attack fighting skill, famous for its powerful attack power. When it is perfected, the attack implies 8 levels of strength. When 8 stacks are added, its power is comparable to the low-level fighting skill of Earth level. That this was indeed the first time Xiao Yan had come into contact with fighting skills. As the 3rd young master of the Xiao family, it was completely impossible for him to fight with others before he was 11 years old. Almost all powerful fighting skills require a certain amount of fighting spirit. Even if he understood it, he would not have the corresponding conditions to perform it. Therefore, understanding fighting skills is undoubtedly a waste of Xiao Yan's precious time. Studying fighting spirit and soul power is more important to him. After savoring the information on Baji Beng Dou technique carefully, Xiao Yan slowly walked out of the cave. After reading the entire Dou technique information carefully, he stared at a tree as thick as the mouth of a sea bowl not far away, eager to try it. Yao Lao poured cold water on the side and said, "Although Baji Beng's requirements for fighting spirit are not too high, it does require a lot of physical strength. This is a close-quarters fighting skill. Dou Qi cultivation can rely on aptitude and horrifying refinement, but this fighting skill requires diligent practice over and over again." Yao Lao thought about his future training arrangements and couldn't help but jokingly said, "Looking at your thin arms and legs, even if you use them, I'm afraid it will be your muscles that break first, not your opponent. Xian-level advanced fighting skills are not so easy to practice. Baji collapse, that a cold drink suddenly sounded among the trees on the top of the mountain. Xiao Yan suddenly stepped on the ground with the sole of his foot, and instantly turned into an extremely agile shadow. The next moment, the shadow suddenly stopped in front of a big tree that was as thick as the mouth of the ocean. His feet stumbled, his body was half tilted, and his elbows hit the big tree hard. Bang! There was a muffled sound, sawdust flew everywhere, and spider-like cracks spread along the place where the elbow hit. Creak! The big tree, which was mostly hollowed out by an elbow, made a creaking and shaking sound. After a moment, it finally fell to the ground helplessly. When the big tree fell, the shadow as strong and powerful as a monkey stepped away first, and then fell lightly to the rear. Looking at the results he had achieved, Xiao Yan smiled slightly. This fighting skill was indeed extraordinary in terms of close combat. After experiencing it personally, Xiao Yan had a deeper understanding of how this power can produce fighting skills comparable to those of the earth level. Teacher, what did you just say? Xiao Yan turned his head and looked at the floating Yao Lao beside him, and asked doubtfully. Looking at Xiao Yan's innocent face, Yao Lao exclaimed in his heart, monster. This Baji Bang is an advanced Xian-level fighting skill. Even a cultivation genius cannot master it without practicing diligently for 3 months. Xiao Yan just accepted the fighting skills information, and actually performed it casually. Looking at the speed and force just now, he was not inferior to someone who had been practicing for a year. This kind of understanding is really terrifying. Ahem, listen carefully next time. Yao Lao coughed lightly and said again, don't think you are proud of having just used the Baji Bang. This power is really an insult to its Xian-level advanced fighting skills. I'll wait for you. When? Yao Lao searched the woods with his eyes, and finally identified an adult hugging a strong tree. He raised his fingers and said, when you interrupt it, you will probably be showing off your Xian-level advanced fighting skills. If we can master that dark power, this Baji Bang will be able to exert its power comparable to that of earth-level fighting skills. This tree. Xiao Yan walked forward slowly, walked around it, and nodded thoughtfully. I can give it a try. Don't be too pushy, kid. Yao Lao was about to say these words in his heart, but suddenly stopped. Anyway, this kid has good medicine, and even if he suffers a loss, he can recover quickly. The Yao Lao also admired Xiao Yan's talent in medicine and pharmacology. Although Xiao Yan has not yet become an alchemist, he already knows a lot about Baichao, and the pills and powders he can easily concoct using doctor's methods are almost as good as those of a first-level alchemist. Suffering losses is a blessing, so let him suffer some losses. Yao Lao nodded slightly in his heart, then quietly watched from the side. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and clenched his fists, which were filled with light yellow fighting spirit. After a slight silence, he let out a loud roar, like a thunderbolt struck out of thin air, and with a fierce sound, he punched the tree trunk. Baji collapse, with Xiao Yan's current strength, even though he couldn't break the big tree into 2 pieces with one punch, he could still dig his fist deep into the trunk. Unexpectedly, when Xiao Yan retracted his fist, the big tree that Yao Lao pointed to that an adult hugged was not damaged at all, and even the bark was not broken at all. You little guy aren't kidding me, are you? Yao Lao frowned, but soon realized something was wrong. Bang! A muffled sound suddenly came from the big tree hit by Xiao Yan's fist. Engine! Yao Lao looked at the big tree in shock. His whole body seemed to be struck by lightning, and he was stunned in the air. Chapter 16 Warcraft Mountains. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not long after the previous muffled sound fell, another even deeper muffled sound came out from the trunk of the tree. Click. A moment later, terrifying force exploded from its interior, and the huge tree trunk suddenly became shaky under the destruction of this dark force. After holding on for a few breaths, the big tree with a broken trunk collapsed. It wasn't until the big tree fell to the ground that Yao Lao came back to his senses. 2 dark powers, and also used Baji Bang to a state of both strength and softness. When a punch is fired, it seems weak and weak, but if anyone underestimates it. Yao Lao looked at the lonely tree stump and remained silent. After some admiration, Yao Lao felt that there was a flaw in the ointment and said, "The use of engine is too raw, and the explosion time will be delayed for too long. During this period, if the opponent's perception is sharp, he will be able to use your power that failed to explode. The dark energy dissolves and goes away. It doesn't matter. This is just the first time. As long as you practice a few more times, these problems will be solved." Xiao Yan moved his slightly numb fist and smiled, nodding. Yao Lao hesitated for a while and said, "The fighting energy currently stored in the cyclone in your body can only support you to use your dark energy a few times. Therefore, if you fight with others in the future, you must kill with one blow. This Baji Bang is originally a killing fighting technique that moves like thunder." Xiao Yan nodded slightly and sat casually on the grass. In fact, the secret energy effect of Bajibang is somewhat similar to the principle of Qishiquan. After the 7-injury fist is fully developed, there are 7 different strengths in one punch, which may be fierce, feminine, hard with softness, soft with hardness, straightforward, or retracted, etc. If the enemy resists the first force, it will be unable to withstand the second force. If it resists the second force, it will be more difficult to deal with the third force. However, Baji Bang's engine focuses on overwhelming output without giving the enemy time to react, and it lacks many changes in power. Yao Lao's eyes narrowed slightly, and there seemed to be some evil intentions in his eyes. Baji Bang has extremely high requirements on the physical body. The next Anjin training needs to give the physical body a buffer time. The speed will not be too fast. Do you want to let this fighting skill go? Can you practice faster? How to speed up cultivation? Looking at the smiling Yao Lao, Xiao Yan suddenly felt a little chilly all over. Be beaten, the harder it is, the better. Yao Lao laughed darkly. Being beaten? Xiao Yan smiled bitterly and shook his head. You always treat Alchemy King Furukawa as an alchemist. Can't you refine some magical elixirs? Now that I have become a fighter, I can already take them. The elixir is here. Yao Lao was startled. It was really difficult to let Xiao Yan, who had almost grown up in a greenhouse, know the benefits of hard work. However, this sharp-tongued boy said so. If he doesn't show some ability, this old face will really be unstoppable. Yao Lao nodded. It's not impossible to let me refine the medicine, but it's hard for a clever woman to make a meal without rice. No matter how powerful I am, I still can't refine the medicine out of thin air. You have to provide the materials. No money. Xiao Yan spread his hands and showed the pure smile of an 11-year-old boy. No money is needed. Yao Lao pointed to the mountains on the far side of the cliff. There are so many materials in the Warcraft mountains. We don't even need a single gold coin. It depends on whether you have the strength to take it. Going to the Warcraft mountains? Xiao Yan climbed up, unable to contain the excitement in his eyes. Xiao Yan seems to have a calm and indifferent temperament, but he is full of adventure factors in his heart. He has been looking forward to the Warcraft mountains for a long time, Yao Lao said slowly. Fighting against the monsters will give you more practical experience. Moreover, what I want to refine requires a large amount of the blood of the monsters, so I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. What Yao Lao wants to refine is called burning blood. It is only effective for those who practice fire attribute fighting spirit, but for those who practice water attribute fighting spirit, it is undoubtedly poison. Applying it to the body can accelerate the consumption of fighting energy in the body, and at the same time, it can also accelerate regeneration. In the stalemate of constant consumption and regeneration, not only the strength of fighting energy will gradually increase, but also the physical strength will also increase. Xiao Yan was shocked when he heard that a large amount of blood from monsters was needed. Damn it, it's actually that burning blood. Using this object will make people feel as if their body is placed on hot coals, and the pain involved is far beyond what ordinary people can bear. People in Yao Lao's era always feel that only by enduring hardship can one become stronger in cultivation. However, times have changed. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan nodded. It's just about hunting some magical beasts, okay? Yao Lao chuckled. He could now foresee Xiao Yan's screams after being painted with burning blood. Without going through some painful training, how can you develop strength far beyond that of ordinary people? Grabbing Xiao Yan's sleeve, Yao Lao flicked his sleeve, and the space where the two of them were was suddenly trembled, and they disappeared in the back of Zhao's house. Nourished by an almost massive amount of fighting energy, Yao Lao's soul power has returned to its peak state. Although there is a certain gap between the strength when he had a physical body, it is not comparable to that of ordinary strong men. The Warcraft mountains are rampant with Warcraft, full of dangers, but also full of opportunities. There is an energy crystal core in the body of the Warcraft, which is filled with extremely violent energy of heaven and earth. For this violent energy, even a fighting king would not dare to take the risk of exploding his body and forcibly absorb it. However, although the magic core cannot be directly absorbed by humans, it is an indispensable main material for alchemists. The magic core that has been refined by the alchemist using secret methods will be neutralized by some magical herbs to neutralize the violent attributes, and transform into various strength-enhancing elixirs that are coveted by countless people, and the value will suddenly skyrocket. Furthermore, magic cores can also be added to weapons. Weapons with magic cores will not only have greater destructive power, but also have the alluring special effect of increasing fighting spirit, making them highly sought after by the fighting class in the fighting spirit continent. Under this demand, the magic cores on the mainland are in short supply almost all year round. The high cost of magic cores naturally created a large number of mercenary groups that specialized in hunting and killing magic beasts. However, obtaining the magic core is not an easy task. Warcraft are not only powerful, but also extremely cunning. They are often much more powerful than strong humans of the same level. Moreover, not all monsters have magic cores in their bodies. This seems to be a random probability with no rules to follow, but it is precisely for this reason that Demo Core has always been at the top of the list in Dou Qi Continent and is very popular. Looking at the woods that were much thicker than the hills behind the Xiao family, Xiao Yan seemed to be in a dream. Just like that, he came to the Warcraft Mountains area from the back mountain of the Xiao family. Chapter 17 Xian Zhong Ruler. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that after Yao Lao absorbed his fighting spirit for many years, his strength has indeed returned to an unimaginable level. Xiao Yan was very satisfied with this, and it lived up to his crazy practice of fighting spirit over the years. As long as you practice according to my plan, you will be able to control the power of space in the future. Now, if you carry this thing on your back, you are not allowed to take it off even when sleeping. Yao Lao laughed, and a huge black object suddenly flew out from the ancient ring, and finally hit the ground heavily, splashing dust all over the ground. The dust dispersed, revealing the true form of the black object. The black object was a thick, giant ruler without an edge. At the end, it was as if something had cut it off in the middle, revealing a smooth, mirror-like cross-section. There are strange and somewhat vague lines painted on the side of the black giant sword. The lines reach to the handle of the ruler, covering almost all parts of the black ruler. Combined with the simple black color, it looks a bit mysterious. I just lack a weapon. Xiao Yan looked at the giant black ruler that was much taller than himself and said with a smile. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan who was about to pull up the ruler and suppressed his laughter. Although Xiao Yan has now broken through and become a 2-star fighter, the material of this ruler is extraordinary. The appearance of the ruler is much heavier than its own weight. Even an average fighting master needs some training before he can use it. Holding the handle of the ruler, Xiao Yan lifted it with all his strength, and was surprised when he realized how heavy the weight was. In the Dou Qi stage, the main purpose is to strengthen the meridians and expand the meridians, strengthen physical fitness, and build a solid foundation. After Yao Lao continued to absorb the Dou Qi for many years, his physical fitness was raised to a terrifying level by the Dou Qi. The level of physical fitness far exceeded the strength of the Dou Qi. Unexpectedly, after using 50% of the strength, it was actually difficult to move. Yao Lao smiled and immediately added, "This is made of flame black iron. I'm afraid there is only one like this in the entire continent. It is not only extremely hard, but also extremely heavy. The most important thing is that it has the magical effect of suppressing fighting spirit. Under its suppression, if you can adapt to it, then when you fight with others in the future, if you take this thing off, the moment you are freed from the restraint, your strength will shock everyone. Moreover, the earth-level fighting skills I will teach you later are also related to this thing." After using his 5 fingers to hold the handle of the giant black ruler again, Xiao Yan used 10% of his strength, with a force that was more powerful than that of ordinary fighting masters. Xiao Yan easily pulled up the giant ruler with a muffled sound, placed it horizontally in front of him, and gently stroked the ruler's body. Seeing Xiao Yan holding a normal weapon, Yao Lao was stunned. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed, and he waved a few times, and the huge black ruler made bursts of sound of breaking through the air. It is a terrifying power. If a strong fighting master is not prepared, he may be seriously injured and on the verge of death within 1 foot. Xiao Yan once again stood in front of him and nodded slightly. It is indeed very heavy and cannot be used by ordinary people at will. Yao Lao took a deep breath as he looked at Xiao Yan, who used the Zhong ruler successfully for the first time. This was completely different from what he expected Xiao Yan to be like after wearing this ruler and being unable to move even an inch. It seems that practicing Dou Qi for many years has given you extraordinary benefits. Your physical quality is so strong that even ordinary Dou masters cannot match it. Yao Lao clicked his tongue in surprise. Xiao Yan casually threw the Zhong ruler in his hand back, and used his fighting spirit to attract it behind his back. He chuckled, there must be some benefits. The casual and flowing movements made Yao Lao feel shocked. Combined with the strength and softness that Xiao Yan exerted when practicing Bajabang, he could easily carry the giant ruler on his back. Yao Lao also discovered at this time, Xiao Yan has mastered power to this point, and his understanding is far beyond that of any genius he has ever seen. It's as if he was born to practice martial arts and fight. Xiao Yan said leisurely, I don't have much fighting energy in my body right now, so I have no interest in earth-level fighting skills. However, since this weapon is extremely heavy, I wonder if it can be made smaller. By then, the weapon itself will be able to create a huge sense of contrast. Yao Lao didn't expect Xiao Yan to be so calm and rational in the face of earth-level fighting skills. After pondering for a while, Yao Lao shook his head, I'm afraid not. The flame-black iron material is extremely resistant to high temperatures, and even strange fire can't do anything to it. If you want to further cast it, it will be as difficult as climbing to the sky. After a slight pause, Yao Lao continued, if you conquer a variety of strange fires in the future, it might be possible to melt them. Okay. Xiao Yan sighed. The Zhong ruler did look like a big but unworkable one. It was just too big, and one could tell at a glance that it was of extraordinary weight. It was far from being like the iron heavy sword. Its appearance and weight, the contrast is huge. If it can be recast and reduced in size, the contrast will be unimaginable to ordinary people. The Zhong ruler itself is a big killer weapon. Let's talk about business. Yao Lao blinked, I need 23 different fire attribute herbs and the blood of 3 second-level fire attribute monsters. There happen to be 2 medicinal materials not far away. Hurry up. Take action. Xiao Yan nodded and followed Yao Lao's instructions. Xiao Yan was also slightly uncomfortable with the Zhong ruler on his back. The Dou Qi flowing rapidly in the originally spacious meridians was suppressed like a turtle crawling. Moreover, its extraordinary weight requires Xiao Yan to use all his strength at all times in order not to be restrained by it and fall to the ground, turning into a tortoise. However, after carrying the Zhong ruler on his back, Xiao Yan's heaven-defying understanding immediately found a direction for development. Under the suppression of Zhongji, Xiao Yan's strength was greatly suppressed. Unless his soul power was extraordinary, most people would only regard him as someone who was not even a fighter. After a while, Xiao Yan realized something. Relying on the experience of wearing the Zhong ruler to suppress your strength, you have an epiphany. You have an epiphany, and the breathe condensation technique, breathing concentration technique can greatly restrain one's own breath. It is difficult for people without strong soul power to see through it. Easily enlightened on an auxiliary secret method, Xiao Yan felt that the effect of his heaven-defying understanding has become more and more powerful since he started practicing. This is a very normal phenomenon. With the foundation of cultivation knowledge and his incredible understanding, Xiao Yan is naturally able to draw inferences from one instance to another, which is not comparable to the time when he was working behind closed doors. Are there monsters guarding the medicinal materials? Xiao Yan frowned slightly and looked at Yao Lao. The soul perception is much stronger than I expected. Yao Lao chuckled, the medicinal materials of good quality are surrounded by monsters guarding them. Get ready to fight. Chapter 18, Enlightenment Upgrade, 8-Pole Sky Cannon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yao Lao added, after entering this magical beast mountain range, in addition to looking for medicinal materials and magic cores, I will remind you to obtain them. Everything else depends on you. Unless you encounter a life-or-death crisis, I won't help you. After moving his wrist, Xiao Yan was not surprised at all. He knew it would be like this and walked helplessly towards the forest ahead. In the forest, there was a large open space where a huge leopard with a blazing body lay lying on its back. This leopard has a strong body, its fiery red fur looks like a burning flame in the sun, and its swollen muscles show the strength of this monster's body. You just came here directly? Yao Lao, who returned to Gaian Ring, said unexpectedly. It's just a little leopard. I like to get it right in one step. Xiao Yan glanced around and quickly found the two medicinal plants Yao Lao mentioned. Blazing fire grass and blazing sun fire seem to have a share of 30 to 50 years. If these two medicinal materials are placed in the market, they can be sold for at least 1 or 2,000 gold coins. These are just two of the medicinal materials. They really cost me money. I can't afford to buy materials. Being familiar with the knowledge of medicinal materials, Xiao Yan recognized the value of the two medicinal materials at a glance and shook his head with a wry smile. Roar sensing that there was an uninvited guest commenting on his treasure, the blazing leopard angrily opened a pair of eyes that seemed to be burning with fire. Bless yourself. This blazing crazy leopard is extremely fast, and a few blazing crazy leopards also possess the ability to become bloodline mad. Once used, not only will the already extremely fast speed increase again, but also the strength will also increase. There has been an increase. After Yao Lao chuckled, the osteoarthritis ring that was holding him no longer moved. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan suddenly stepped on the ground with the sole of his foot. The huge force suddenly caused the ground to sink 3 inches, and cracks spread rapidly. With a bang, Xiao Yan suddenly ejected like a cannonball, and instantly turned into a black shadow and rushed towards the scarlet flame crazy leopard, which was several times larger than him. There was a rich yellow light on his fist. Baji collapse. Yao Lao did not really leave Xiao Yan alone. Although he was in the bone flame ring, he had been observing Xiao Yan's external situation, such a fast speed. If it weren't for the Zhong ruler that suppressed his speed, this blazing leopard might not even know how he died until he died. Just getting up, blazing crazy leopard had no idea that a tiny human could actually display such speed. However, it is not a weak creature. The fire all over its body rises again. As the red light flows, its muscles expand to an exaggerated degree. The huge body suddenly turned 90 degrees. When the blazing leopard dodged to avoid the direction of Xiao Yan's attack, the thick tail behind it was like a flaming whip, with a sound of bursting through the air, and it was whipped fiercely. Xiao Yan's cheek, the keen soul perception has been spreading all around, and almost every movement of blazing crazy leopard is under Xiao Yan's nose. Xiao Yan's soul power has been far superior to ordinary people since he was a child. In addition, after practicing techniques to enhance soul power, he has almost reached the low level of the mortal realm. Although the low-level mortal realm is only the most basic soul realm, it has surpassed more than 90% of the alchemists in Dou Qi Continent. Many alchemists have never known the realm of souls throughout their lives. Xiao Yan made a weird and sharp spin, struck with his right elbow, and shot out with a sharp sound of breaking wind, and Jean, that the heavy bombardment hit the fiery red body of the blazing crazy leopard, and a thunderous sound exploded in the forest. As if an overwhelming force was released, the blazing leopard was immediately knocked away, causing a cloud of smoke and dust. Bang, bang. 2 consecutive muffled sounds suddenly rang out in the smoke, coming from the body of the blazing crazy leopard, and immediately hit a towering ancient tree heavily. For a moment, the entire forest seemed to be trembling, and the air was filled with the smell of fire. Bang. Immediately afterwards, there was another muffled sound, but this sound was much smaller than the previous 2, but it also caused the ancient tree to sway unsteadily. Yao Lao was shocked. Baji Beng's understanding has deepened again, 3 dark energies. However, it was a little worse, and the time interval was larger, giving the blazing crazy leopard time to resolve. Yao Lao slightly regretted it, but at this time, Xiao Yan had only learned Baji Beng for only a day, and he was already incredible. Xiao Yan exhaled a breath of turbid air. This low-level Huang-level burning Jew has very little fighting spirit. He already has some ideas for solving this shortcoming, but it will take some time to actually put it into practice. The air suddenly trembled, and a dazzling fire suddenly emerged from the smoke, followed by a heat wave that spread out and dispersed the dust. Be careful, it's furious. Yao Lao warned. At this time, the flames all over the blazing crazy leopard's body were even more intense, as if it had ignited itself. His eyes were like 2 red lanterns, and his breath was breathing fire. It can be clearly seen that the left hind leg of the blazing crazy leopard is stained with blood, revealing the forest white bones. There are already cracks on the bones, as if they will collapse at any time. It is obviously the damage caused by Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. The blow he just struck hit the blazing leopard's hind leg. The power was indeed extraordinary, but it was not fatal, especially for a monster with a terrifying physical body. You relied on the experience of using the Baji Bengan energy to achieve enlightenment, and you suddenly realized the fighting skill Baji Soaring Cannon. The Baji Soaring Cannon unleashes the dark energy of the Baji Bang in one go, condensing it into a thread, and the 8 strands of dark energy merge into one. It is powerful enough to rival Earth-level fighting skills. The corners of Xiao Yan's mouth slowly raised. The heaven-defying comprehension is not just a thinking type of understanding. Actual combat experience can also make the heaven-defying comprehension come into play. He has used Baji Beng several times, and with his strong understanding, he was able to complete this small breakthrough and solve the problem of the gap between the dark energy. Suffering such a serious injury for the first time, Blazing Crazy Leopard was not only violent physically but also mentally. The anger covered up the severe pain in the Blazing Crazy Leopard's body, and he immediately launched a violent attack. Even though its hind legs were seriously injured, its speed was still a bit faster than before thanks to its violent growth. There was a burst of fiery red lightning, leaving behind afterimages. Xiao Yan only felt a wave of heat coming towards him. His dark eyes locked on the position of the Blazing Leopard, and he suddenly swung a punch, hitting the head bitten by the Blazing Leopard. Baji Sky Cannon. The 3 dark forces gathered together, and all the fighting energy in Xiao Yan's body was released like a tide. The Blazing Crazy Leopard suddenly opened his eyes in disbelief. He had already unleashed his rage and his speed had further increased. Why was this human's attack still 1 step faster? Chapter 19 Refining Demonic Core, Fire Bomb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Among the 3 types of fighting spirit, physical strength, and soul power, Xiao Yan's fighting spirit is the weakest and his soul power is the strongest. Even if the Blazing Crazy Leopard is promoted to the 2nd level of monster, it will be difficult to avoid Xiao Yan's perception. The powerful soul perception gives Xiao Yan the ability to predict the enemy before he can. The Blazing Crazy Leopard and Xiao Yan, who was under the suppression of Xian Zhongji, were similar in strength, but Xiao Yan could see through its attack at any time, and the gap widened instantly. The dark energy gathered together, and the black-yellow light surged out from the Blazing Crazy Leopard's body. With a bang, the Blazing Crazy Leopard's body exploded completely, and the flesh, blood, and broken bones were scattered in all directions. There was only a fiery red magic core spinning on the grass. This is it. Yao Lao suddenly jumped out of the bone flame ring. He was horrified when he saw that the originally quiet woods were filled with a layer of blood. If Xiao Yan wasn't just a 2-star fighter with very little fighting spirit, it would be unimaginable how powerful this power would be. Xiao Yan sat down on the grass, breathing heavily. The Baji Sky Cannon connects the dark energy of the Baji collapse into a line and resolves the time difference between the dark energy. Xiao Yan also stared at the pile of flesh and blood with no bones left. It looks really terrifying. The fur, bones, flesh and blood of this monster are all gone, and only a magic core is left. Pressing down the rotating magic core, Xiao Yan held it in his hand. The warm feeling made his numb palm very comfortable. the execution of this move not only has strict requirements for fighting spirit, but also has higher requirements for physical quality than Bajibang. You are actually able to cultivate Bajibang to this level so quickly. What a terrifying little guy. Yao Lao was astonished. This is an advanced Xian-level fighting skill. Bajibang has extremely high requirements on the physical body, and it is difficult for ordinary people to meet the training requirements. Although the requirements for fighting spirit are not high, it is only the simplest Bajibang display. If you want to use dark energy and use the complete Bajibang, you have high requirements for fighting spirit. The so-called low level is only compared to other powerful fighting skills. Otherwise, advanced Xian-level fighting skills and fighting skills comparable to those of the earth level are just wild potatoes on the roadside, and anyone can practice them and use them, in a short period of time. Xiao Yan not only mastered the extremely difficult dark power, but also made breakthroughs and creations. This was the first time for Yao Lao to be such a genius. Ordinary geniuses can only quickly practice their original skills and fighting skills at most. Those who can innovate on what they have learned are all capable of advancing to terrifying existences. Xiao Yan's strength as a fighter has improved within a day since the beginning of his training, and his understanding is truly heaven-defying. As a teacher, Yao Lao was delighted, but at the same time he solemnly warned, "Your fighting spirit consumes more. After you use it, you will have no fighting spirit left." Xiao Yan blinked. Even if he reaches the level of a fighting master, if his skills are not advanced, it may be difficult to perfectly display the 8G soaring sky break with 8 strands of dark energy condensed into one line. What he just used was just 3 strands that he could barely condense. If you want to increase in gene on this basis, you will need more and more fighting spirit. With a slight hum, Xiao Yan put away the 2 medicinal herbs, took the first-order fire attribute magic core, and quickly left the place. The strong smell of blood here would attract many monsters. He didn't have the fighting spirit to face the enemy now. After walking for more than 20 minutes, Xiao Yan found a hidden place and used the burning technique to restore his fighting spirit. This time it was a serious practice. He carefully observed Xiao Yan absorbing the energy of the world and determined that it was comparable to the speed of Huang-level advanced skills. Yao Lao could not help but be shocked again by Xiao Yan's terrifying aptitude. If he hadn't been hindered by the burning technique, and he could switch to the Wan Xian level technique at will, relying on Xiao Yan's qualifications, his training speed would be even more terrifying. Quickly restoring his fighting spirit to perfection, Xiao Yan felt that his strength had been significantly improved after the battle. It seems that this battle is not only a training of fighting skills, but also a great benefit for cultivation. The so-called breaking and then establishing means to stimulate cultivation under the crisis of life and death. Xiao Yan slowly opened his dark eyes and took out one of the trophies of this battle, the fire-attributed magic core of the blazing crazy leopard. Xiao Yan is no stranger to things like magic core. It can almost be said that he has been playing with it since he was a child. He even created magic core puppets when he was a child to make Suner and others happy. It's a pity that he only had fighting spirit at that time, and the Xiao family was limited in strength and could not provide more advanced materials, so the research speed reached a bottleneck. Comprehension and resources can be said to be indispensable for cultivation. With your years of studying puppets, your experience in using magic cores, and your fire attribute fighting spirit, you have an epiphany, and you have figured out how to make fire bombs. The fire bomb manufacturing method activates the fire attribute fighting spirit to communicate with the energy in the fire attribute magic core, draws runes, and guides the violent energy. Making this fire bomb requires extremely high soul power, otherwise there is a risk of self-immolation. Once the completed fire bomb is activated, it will explode violently a moment later. Xiao Yan knew that the fighting energy in his body was too scarce due to his martial arts, so the more trump cards he had, the better. Slowly closing his eyes, Xiao Yan used his soul power to carefully sense the magic core energy, and a wisp of light yellow fighting spirit slowly came out. He had done this on the puppet body many times when he was a child, drawing lines of communication energy, and now he was using it on the demon core. Due to his increased strength, it was not too awkward. After a full meal, Xiao Yan's intense concentration caused a layer of beads of sweat the size of peas to appear on his forehead. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan, who seemed to be quite nervous at this time, and murmured in confusion, "What is this kid doing if he doesn't practice?" However, Yao Lao did not interrupt rashly. when all the lines on the magic core were connected, the round magic core burst out with a dazzling red light. Xiao Yan slowly opened his eyes at this moment and slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air. After taking a look at the glowing magic core in his hand, Xiao Yan smiled with satisfaction. It might be difficult to kill a fighting master, but if a fighting master is hit, he will definitely die, Yao Lao said at this time. Don't even think about practicing magic core. The energy of this thing is very violent, unless you master the methods of an alchemist. Teacher, just wait and see the show. Xiao Yan stood up with a smile and pulled up the Zhong ruler on the side. Let's continue looking for medicinal materials. Now we found two kinds. Xiao Yan has a very high level of understanding. The Yao Lao did not say much, but pointed out the location of the nearest available medicinal materials. You are more lucky this time. Those are unowned medicinal materials. There is no need to fight, and the speed of collecting medicines can be accelerated a bit. Chapter 20 Wolf Head Mercenary Group, Hermon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At sunset, the forest is filled with golden light, and the leaves sway gently, making a rustling sound. On a towering tree that requires two adults to hug each other, Xiao Yan is picking the 10th medicinal material for refining burning blood. Looking at a blood-red, fist-sized mushroom growing on the tree trunk, Yao Lao smiled slightly. Red fire mushrooms can only grow on large trees that are more than 100 years old. I originally thought it would take some effort to find them. I didn't expect to get it on the first day. You little guy is really lucky. Xiao Yan smiled, and his keen sense suddenly noticed that there was a powerful aura approaching, and his delicate face condensed. A magical beast is coming, and it has reached the second level. Yao Lao nodded appreciatively for Xiao Yan's ability to remain vigilant at all times in the Warcraft mountains. It's a second-level monster, the Flame Demon Tiger, and it was seriously injured. It got the most critical red fire mushroom, and it's about to get a second-level magic core. That's why I say you are not bad luck. Xiao Yan's physical fitness was too high. After careful consideration, Yao Lao thought that the blood effect of the second-level fire attribute monster might be a little poor. Only the magic core can produce the best cultivation effect for Xiao Yan. Putting the red fire mushroom away, Xiao Yan used the breathing condensation technique to further completely restrain his breath. His dark eyes focused on looking down, and the fighting energy in his body slowly circulated, ready to take action. Not long after, a rather large devil tiger appeared in Xiao Yan's sight. This monster's head is ferocious and terrifying, and its eyes are as hot as lava, flashing with a heart-stopping light. Every time its 4 thick claws step down, it will leave a huge palm print on the ground, as if it were eroded by lava. However, there were many wounds from swords on his body, and it was unknown which mercenaries he had fought with. Xiao Yan is not a good person. If he were to fight against a second-level monster in its heyday, he would have to use all his cards. Not every Warcraft has a magic core. He hunted 5 Warcraft in the Warcraft mountains and only got a fire attribute magic core from the first one. Things are hard to come by, so naturally you can save them. Now this second-level monster is seriously injured, kill it while it's sick. Running wildly all the way, with the loss of blood, even though the monster's body is extremely powerful, the red flame demon tiger has lost its former power. After looking around cautiously and confirming that there was no danger, the red flame demonic tiger lay on the ground tiredly. After waiting for a few breaths and lowering the red flame demonic tiger's alertness to a minimum, Xiao Yan used his legs to exert force and suddenly jumped down from the towering ancient tree. Like an arrow from a string, he struck at the scarlet flame demonic tiger. There was a strong yellow fighting spirit on his fist, and Xiao Yan used almost all his strength when he made a move. The red flame demon tiger's reaction was not slow at all, and he suddenly got up from the grass. While his heart was filled with anger, his tiger eyes were full of disbelief. How could it be so fast? If Xiao Yan was alone, he would naturally not be able to fall so fast, but the Zhong ruler he was carrying was extremely heavy. The Zhong ruler on his body increased Xiao Yan's speed, which was already not slow, by a small amount. The red flame demon tiger didn't react at all, and the sandbag-sized fist had already hit the word king on its forehead hard. Baji collapse. The overwhelming force immediately slammed the huge tiger head of the red flame demonic tiger to the ground. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately afterwards, 3 muffled sounds were heard in the mind of the Scarlet Flame Demon Tiger, and the terrifying dark energy exploded. In an instant, the Scarlet Flame Demon Tiger's brain exploded, and its 7 orifices bled to death. As soon as the huge body stood up, it collapsed to the ground helplessly, with his fighting spirit greatly consumed. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and couldn't hide his joy when he looked at the second-level magic beast, the Red Flame Demon Tiger, which fell in front of him and was easily dealt with. Looking at the body of the Scarlet Flame Demon Tiger, Yao Lao said with a smile, "Carrying this Zhong ruler will affect your movement speed, but it can accelerate a lot when falling. The death of this Scarlet Flame Demon Tiger is somewhat unjust. I hope I can have a demon core." Xiao Yan stretched out his hand to hold the handle of Zhong's ruler, waved his hand and struck hard at the huge Red Flame Demon Tiger. Although this Zhong ruler is very flat and has no sharp edges, Xiao Yan has learned from Baji Beng that the Baji Sky Cannon can gather force into a line, and he is very familiar with it. After falling 1 foot, a crack suddenly appeared on the back of the Red Flame Demonic Tiger, and its flesh and blood was completely spread out, revealing the pale skeleton of the Red Flame Demonic Tiger. Being able to use it to such an extent in one day, Yao Lao nodded appreciatively. "You are increasingly able to master the skills of using this heavy sword." "Oh, I almost forgot, you already called it the Zhong ruler," Yao Lao added. "You're lucky, I have a magic core." Xiao Yan picked up the fiery red magic core and said with a smile, "I'm looking forward to the teacher teaching me the powerful fighting skills of this Zhong ruler soon. Let's wait until your fighting chi strength improves a few more levels. Even if I teach you now, you still don't have the ability to use your fighting chi," Yao Lao said with a smile. Improve fighting spirit strength? Although the martial arts cannot be advanced for the time being, who says that one must improve his fighting spirit strength in order to have more fighting spirit? After being ghost-possessed, who cares about your fighting spirit level? Rubbing his nose that was irritated by the strong bloody aura, Xiao Yan's understanding of expanding his fighting energy became increasingly clear. After putting away the magic core, Xiao Yan left the forest and prepared to find more medicinal materials while it was still dark. After dark, the monsters become more rampant, and the danger of the monster mountains increases exponentially. Yao Lao will help him explore the location of the medicinal materials, but will not help him deal with those monsters. After walking for a moment, Xiao Yan met a large group of mercenaries rushing towards him. After a cursory glance, there were about 30 mercenaries in this group. They were quite powerful and wore the same badge on their chests. Among the emblems, a one-eyed wolf head is carved. Xiao Yan blinked. Was it the wolf head mercenary group 3 or 4 years ago? The mercenaries have seen a lot of young people like Xiao Yan who come to the Warcraft mountains in search of an opportunity to be an unknown hermit. Not many, most of these teenagers had broken arms and legs, or were buried in the belly of the monster. "Boy, have you seen an injured devil tiger?" asked the mercenary with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks. Could it be that these guys severely injured the Red Flame Demon Tiger? A flash of doubt flashed in Xiao Yan's heart, and then he smiled silently. Thanks to these guys, however, Xiao Yan would not tell the truth. "No." Xiao Yan shook his head slightly and prepared to avoid this group of people. "Wait." Just at Xiao Yan, a tall man of nearly 2 meters among the mercenaries shouted in a deep voice, "Leave the bag containing the medicinal materials on your waist." Being able to become the 3rd leader of the Wolf Head mercenary group, Hermon is not only powerful, but also has top-notch vision. The red fire mushroom at the mouth of the bag alone was worth more than 3,000 gold coins. It was much easier to deal with a lucky boy than to deal with a second-level monster.